On the back of what you said about bringing in homegrown players, Mick, and I want to ask you both this, and I want you to give it a good thought. We've mentioned it the other week about the young players' exodus in this game. So you've got Rugby League are saying, well, they keep our homegrown. You've just lost George Flanagan. Junior to Huddersfield. Huddersfield have just lost Will Price
to Newcastle.
It's a revolving door.
Correct.
One in, 65 grand if it's right, 65 grand for young Will.
I was told 85.
85, then it's gone, right? So I'm trying to get my head around how this is working. We lose one of the most exciting young talents in young Will, but then their answer, Huddersfield, is to go to Bradford and get your most exciting talent and offer him a better gig. Are we now at a chance in the sport where we're all admitting now the salary cap's just gone up in Australia and NRL again? Do you know about this?
Yes.
Are we looking at another 10 or 15% of people, young players, are going to go to the NRL in the next 5 years?
Affirmative, yes. And that's another issue IMG have got to sort out.
If then the answer to that is for the Super League clubs to go to the best Championship players and take them and put them in Super League, which dilutes the Championship. Because young Flanagan going into Championship for the next 2 years would have been exciting. Do you agree?
Correct.
So is this going to have a knock-on effect of every single standard? So they lose one there, they go there and get one, they lose that, it's all going to be diluted. If we got IMG and they were there in front of us, how do you tell IMG, do we keep the young players, the stars of this game, into their dream of making superstars out of young players and homegrown? What can we do, lads? What can we do to save the sport on this exodus? That could be the biggest thing that happens in the game.
Well, you're probably looking at it the wrong way in terms of Flanagan Jr. going to Huddersfield. The big one is obviously a Will Price going to Newcastle. That's what they probably want to stop. But at the same time, just a quick one on the George Flanagan Jr. situation. Bradford had offered him a 3-year deal. It was on double the money that he's currently on. It was a very attractive offer. Miles Lawford's been given the same offer. I'm not sure if he's signed yet, but let's just focus on George Flanagan Jr. He quite rightly looked at it, thought it was very fair, but he said no. He thinks he's ready for Super League. He wants to train in a full-time environment, and he wants to become the best player that he knows he can be. So, as we know, with May the 1st, the anti-tampering deadline, Bradford Nigel Wood has got on the phone to Mr. Fewlis, and we've got a young player here. He doesn't want to sign this 3-year deal, which is improved. Would you be interested? Because the issue for Bradford is May the 1st comes, and it, Craig. All those Super League clubs, they would have been around. They would have been around him. You know what it's like.
Depending on what you've got in your own yard.
Yeah.
Obviously, Huddersfield. I was trying to think of this. They've got Jake Connor, which I've been told, and it's come from, I can't tell you where. We discussed it on the show about him. He will be playing half.
Yes.
And I seen Jake at the Featherstone game. He's definitely come on the show. We had a quick chat. He's probably right about Jake. What they say, he's probably a pantomime villain. He looked a lovely lad, lovely expressions. Like that. I said, Jake, we're coming. Me and you, we're going to get it on. We'll bring him on, and Joe and we'll have it. He said 100%. I apologise for not coming.
No, but you're right. Huddersfield clearly looks.
But they're going to have him at half, and then it looks like they're going to put Lolo here still at fullback.
Yeah.
So young George, I don't know what years left Lolo here's got.
He's only just gone 18 as George.
18. So he's got 2 or 3 years to
development. Yeah.
Sounds like good business.
Yeah.
But again,
just quickly, Bradford don't cash in now, even with a player turning down the 3-year deal. You've got the situation where May the 1st comes and the Leeds or whatever say
they'd have had to pay compensation. It'd have only been 25 grand.
Yeah. So instead of getting 80, instead of getting 80, you've done the deal in advance. Huddersfield get a very young player who may or may not make it. Let's look at no disrespect, but let's look at a couple of the Huddersfield players that have come. Oliver Wilson, he's made it. Reece Butterworth. Probably Knox has dropped back down to Dewsbury. So, it's a gamble by Huddersfield, But at the same time...
But he's losing one of the best young half fullbacks in the
Craig,
club.
don't get me going on that personally. I think...
But you know what I'm saying? That? No, not you. Forget about you.
Can I have a go?
Yeah. Will Price leaving the comp, it's then to keep the fans at Huddersfield and then done by getting the kid in the same position as Will Price. Probably fullback. Will might have played fullback or half, but played the same position and got him from Bradford. I don't know how much I like that concept of a business model in using that to do that. Do you get me? I love that Bradford have got a few quid. I know how it works financially. I
don't get what you want though, because in the leagues below it, well, first off, your answer is we're going to lose loads of youth, I believe, because of the way the reserve system's run. Which that should be the home of youth, the home to watch the best young players, and then obviously, hopefully, see them in Super League once they've earned the stripes in the reserve. The reserve grade has been that poorly run, and is still going to be that poorly run over the next couple of years. That, yes, I think we're going to see more and more go over, because there's no... You might as well develop in Australia than you do in our youth systems. That's just...
Well, the young lad from Newcastle's gone.
Straight off the back, yeah.
What's he called?
Isaac Noakes. He's gone. So then it makes no sense to sit in the reserve system if you're coming...
Sorry, where's Isaac Noakes?
He's gone to Queensland Cup.
Right.
So that's your first off. Of course, we're going to lose more and more than I think we even notice, more than we'll even dream to start to imagine once they realise that they need to come... Australia come watch our youth players, because they're not going to make it through the way it's being run. Second off, how do you expect Bradford to keep players when it's part-time? You're an agent. How is that? Of course, that's all. That revolving door, I think, is a brilliant model, because he's going to, as Mick's saying, chances are he's going to leave for free. Why would he not go to full-time?
Well, my answer to Bradford is, and I'm going to say this, being part of it, is not good enough. That's the 7th player Bradford have lost in the last 3 years.
Yeah, because they're producing...
Probably 11, 15 players in the last 15
But they're
years.
producing the best young players.
Well, so then they're bringing in...
But unless Bradford can go full-time and supply a full-time environment for players to develop...
Why wouldn't you?
You can't keep them. It's impossible to keep them.
Why would you not? Right then. Why would you not invest... Let me tell you then. Why would you not invest in Flanagan to keep him there?
But they have done. They've offered him a 3-year
let me finish. Let me finish.
Double what he's currently on.
Invest in that against paying... a 27-year-old halfback, 40,000 quid. For me, I'd rather 40,000 go to Flanagan. I'll have you a bet the Flanagan offer would not be nowhere near that.
I know it wasn't nowhere near
I could tell you exactly what it'd be.
Yeah.
And because I know when they say we've offered him a 3-year deal, so you lot of the fans don't say you've done it. We've fucking done it again. We've cashed in. They have cashed in ultimately, and I'm not saying that's the way the world works. Joe's saying
but
there's not a platform
Craig,
for young
I know,
Flanagan.
Craig, I know, but
eventually,
where this is different is he wants a full-time environment. Bradford can't offer him that. George Flanagan wants to develop to become the best player he knows he can be, and sadly, and it's painful to say this, Bradford, who have developed him through the scholarship and the academy and the reserves,
personally,
cannot
young George
offer him that at this moment in time. Because
speech.
Bradford are a championship club.
Great speech, but young George would have got double the money as well at Huddersfield than Bradford.
Craig, until the grading comes in and Bradford get back into Super League, they are a championship club.
Yeah. So the only way you could have done it is to ring fence them for, when we said when they were coming on 16, why didn't they give them 4-year deals on X amount? And you're saying full-time, Mark Dunning's full-time. So there's always a chance to coach them young players coming in every day. I know what I'd do if I were chairman. I would say to Mark, no, on the days like you're not thinking, they're in. You bring them young lads in. We've got 6 young lads.
We'd have to pay them full-time deals.
100%. But a full-time deal for some of them is 12, 15 grand. Why would you not? Why would you not invest in that for your own future?
Because Bradford don't have the money to do that currently, Craig. You're about to find out.
So
a lot of the championship clubs have been squeezed again this year on return on investment. Bradford are getting the most. Widnes are then, I believe, are getting the second most, and then Featherstone, I think, are getting...
But then
Bradford's model's made me hurt so much, because sometimes they lose a young player, then, like I said, then they'll go and get a 27-year-old.
But this is different.
Craig. How much do you think?
I get
and we've got one of the players.
Craig,
You've just lost Flanagan.
Different.
You've just lost Flanagan, right? Because you're saying he wanted to go Super League and be full time, right? Yeah, we all get that. I think Bradford's 3 halves this year or last year, potentially between 3 halves to be 100,000 quid. But you've lost young Flanagan.
Yeah.
I don't get you.
Yeah.
I'll challenge that and I'll say it be under 100,000.
Be over.
Be over.
Under.
Right.
Be over, won't it?
Under.
For all three?
For all three.
Well, one of them's your player, so you tell me how close he is on.
Probably why I'm saying it to you. What I'm saying is, when you got offered, I say if
we're talking for this year now.
Yeah.
Because last year was very unprecedented, where you had Patton injured, then
right. If you've got Dick Patton, Jordan Lilly, and Tom Holmes, are you talking 100,000 for them three?
I thought you were on about last year.
No, this year.
Because you had Billy Jowett in the mix and
forget
Miles Lawford.
Lovely Billy. Miles, brilliant prospects. Love it. I love it. I'm saying to you, there's probably that stuff at Bradford where I keep thinking they want to do something now and get involved in the mix. That's to detriment to the development. That's not what this was about, but obviously that's what it is. George would have been offered something like George would have been on $3,000, $4,000. That's what they'd have been on, them young lads. We all know what they'd have been on.
Maybe six.
Then they might got offered
at best, isn't it?
Anyway. Then they might have got offered
double 12.
12 to and he's gone. No, I'm not thinking. Huddersfield will probably start him off on $22,000, $30,000, $40,000. So financially, the lad personally is a lot better. Would his opportunity be better?
16, 18, 20.
I think his opportunity would have been better, in my humble opinion. I'd have said if Jack Walker's there for 1 year only, because he wants to obviously go back to Super League, or he's with Bradford. Young George could have been the number one at Bradford at the age of 19-year-old. He would have played regular games and absolutely smashed it. So I'd say to you, opportunity. You've got Tullahir on 160,000. If he's got 2 years left, and you've got Jacobs cover, you've got Ashton Golder's cover. So I don't think the opportunity is going to be there for next 2 years. They probably agreed to loan him back to Bradford next year. There'll be something. You'll see what'll happen.
He is. He's a Bradford player till the end of next year. So Bradford have got the money, but this is different to this. When you say cashing in, Craig, obviously the 85 grand is going to help the club in terms of, there's some allegedly props coming from Super League. There's the Leeds loanees that have yet to be announced. So there's the money is going to be used to strengthen.
My point is, Mick, about this.
It's not an Oliver Wilson situation.
If anybody's here now, is everyone's listening to this? Every coach, every CEO, every administrator, every supporter, every listener, fan, whatever you want to call it. Are we conceding defeat that every young player who has a certain standard will go when the timing's right? So you'll get some young lads on the good 25 when they can earn 600 grand in Australia.
Of course, Craig.
Or they go at 18 and take the chance now
and sell
and 50
100%.
grand. Are we going to lose them all? Are they all going?
Well, you've just got to look at what's happened with Dom Young and
is Johnny Lomax the last top player not to want to go Australia? Will he be the last one? Well, Lomax is probably one of the best players halves in this country, probably top 10 half in the world. He's got the record everywhere. He's proven he can play at any level, the big occasion. Well, is Johnny at 31 the last big one? Roby, are they the last ones that won't go?
What, do you think people like Wellesby will end up over there?
I'm asking you. I know the answer.
What?
If we don't change something, of course.
Jack Wellesby will be over there.
Well, you're not going to... Lomax and Roby...
Morgan Smithies will be over there.
You'd have to say it's the biggest cert of all time.
Whether they go or not, I think
changes.
Whether they go or not, they want to go. Yes, I think they all want to go.
And at a certain time in their lives,
they'll all want to go.
And this is the... Now, what I saw some comments, Joe, some comments said, so get over it. Just get over it. That's what's going to happen. And I find that really defeatist. And if we're all going to admit that, I don't know where the show goes now, boys. Because if you like Joe's mentioned, let's say UFC, let's say boxing, let's say anything. If cage rage in England survives based on anybody who's any good, they got UFC. So they lose. The cage rage gets big stars, Paddy Pimflet, they've had Conor McGregor. Or eventually it gets to a stage where they go, it's been great, thank you, I'm off to the promised land. They lose their biggest stars and they start again trying to produce the next big star. That's their model. Is that our model?
It's going... let me answer this then, if you... It's going to be our model, isn't it? Because, well, first off, we can't... In our current state, our current fact, everything, we can't compete with NRL's money. So, yes, at the moment, 100%... If we're thinking MMA, cage rage, don't have nowhere near as much money as UFC. But it's also, if we forget about the money, which as famously a lot of the people say, it's not always about the money. It's about the being a star, being the man. being all that, as why they go USC, because they can get paid most other places anywhere else just as much, less more, in other promotions. As in NRL, do you go over there because it's the Premiership League? I think that's more just as much what we've got to worry about as the money, because a lot of the people eventually want the money's not all the be all and end all for a lot of them. It's the wanting to be a star, wanting to be in the top league, wanting to be competing against the best, i.e. why a lot of Championship young players go to Super League, because they want to play the best players. Sometimes the money is more equal. And I think that's also what we've got to worry about. So unless we build our less Super League, whatever it will become, becomes a more dominant thing in the English stage of sport, we will become a feeder league to the NRL. I think 100%.
And Mick, this week we've all heard, we didn't discuss it, John Bateman's gone to West Tigers. I'm trying to get my head around the deal. I'm trying to...
Money talks,
John's lifestyle, whatever, because of his, I think his girlfriend, I think whatever, that's up to John, private life. But if you look at John there, and again, John's come back in, gone to Australia, Canberra, had a fantastic time, not so great the second year, came back to our competition, and now he's gone back to the NRL. This is also going to happen. Will the players go back and forward? Probably. Another thing that's going to happen. They might come and have a go at it, come back for 2 years, get the confidence back, get the mojo back, family reasons, and then they go back and earn another shitload of money and playing what Joe's saying, the top comp. My address for this is, it probably is the ultimate scariest thing, doing that thing with your eyes, is that he's I'd say it last time, they didn't believe me, we put it on and they are, is that the ultimate...
I'm just sat looking at you.
Yeah, but your eyes were dropping. Is it ultimately the end of the... Is it ultimately the Danny Maguire, Kevin Sinfield, Rob Burrow, Johnny Lomax, James Roby?
Yes.
Sean O'Loughlin, Aaron Farrell. Will we never see the likes of that again playing the career out in the UK?
I think those types of players will be endangered species, yeah.
And I think that's the way to put it. They'll be less and less, won't they?
You as a rugby league fan are going to be missing out on some unbelievable talent playing in this company.
Again, an IMG...
Are you not bothered? Did you switch NRL on? What do you do? Did you just say, just watch it?
Of course we're bothered. What are you saying? But
Yeah,
what do we do about it?
That's what were the first question?
That's what we're trying to do about it, but you're talking...
You haven't given us one answer.
You've not. The answer is what we've done the last 5 weeks, not what we've been discussing. We have given many answers.
Come on then, give us one.
Are you nuts? If any viewers that have been watching the last 5 weeks, I've given 50 answers, I'm trying my best. But everything that we've discussed is if nothing gets played, if IMG don't make any action, if nothing happens, yes, we'll have to accept that, whether we like it or not, whether it's heartbreaking to see the English league not be the top league, as we are in most other sports in our realm, that we are the top league, because we're a good economic country. What do we do? We're sporting.
If you think about it, Huddersfield and Bradford, it lasts 3 weeks. We've had 2 big losses for 2 clubs, haven't we? One's probably a chance for a young player to play at the top level, George. So you've got split camps on George. Bradford fans might go, I wish we'd have him longer. Or they're like, good luck, George. Give it your best go. Lovely family, big rugby league family back. And then you've lost Will Price to our game. People might say, fantastic, good young lad's got a chance. Playing in NRL, it's his dream. It could be a superstar. Ultimately, only people who are losing are the clubs, aren't they, in a way? And are the fans losing?
Of course.
Because if we lost...
Of course, from a Bradford point of view, Bradford fans want to see that Bradford team full of young homegrown players. Your Miles Lawford, your Bailey Arnolds, your Marcus Greens.
Of course, Huddersfield.
Your Harry Grays.
What's the difference between Huddersfield and Bradford, Ken?
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
Yes,
finances.
Even worse then, isn't it? So the only difference between you and Huddersfield, you're a bigger club, but they've got Ken and you aren't.
Well, put it this way: if Bradford had a Ken, they'd be in the Super League, because all them young players would be on the contracts, and you wouldn't have had an Andrew Chalmers cashing in on an Oliver Wilson or Reece Butterworth because of financial mismanagement. Because does Ken Davey operate under financial mismanagement? No, he doesn't. He's very shrewd with he might put a lot of money in, realising he's not getting it back, but Huddersfield have never been in a position.
It's a funny one, isn't it, where you just said there, when I just said it and we both went quiet.
It's plain obvious.
What's the difference between Bradford and Huddersfield, Ken?
It's plain and obvious.
So is that the same? You think that's the same as Salford and Warrington, Simon Moran?
Yes.
The only one...
But you can't really put Warrington and Salford, because Warrington and Salford are both in the same division.
Yeah, you can't
and
say
based on last year, Salford had a far more successful season than Warrington.
You'd be shocked for that. But what you've got to... We are going to lose it because of... I think because of how many people around the world watch the NRL, first off. NRL's now being shown in America, some of the games. It's now being shown in, obviously, all countries around the world. It's massive here. The Super League, we are just not. We have to probably accept it, but then find ways to fight back. But we have to accept at this moment, we're not. It's not NRL and us. It's NRL and then us. We are just far below NRL standards on everything at the moment. So we have to accept that and then find a way to try and match them. It's not an argument of. I think you're still arguing for us to still be as good as them. We're not. We're miles.
Could we not do what we said years ago, though?
Are you not answering me?
Yeah. I'm accepting that is. Stop. Yeah, I'm accepting that is. I'm not accepting that there should be a fight against it. Here's one for you.
No. What you just said.
I just said I accept the NRL are miles ahead of us.
Yeah.
But I'm not accepting that we're not going to fight. And this is my idea to fight.
No one's said we're not accepting not to fight.
Well, lean back so I can see you, Mick. So I would say my fight is here. Could we not? Are you not like this, Mick?
He's been a
the top 4 clubs, yeah? You said about earning, and me and Joe questioned you earlier on saying, well, why should you stop them from earning? The ones who are earning more and doing everything right, they should get more, or they can make it as high as they want. Could we not make that bar higher to the ones who could afford it? And people say, no, it affects the comp, so it's not fair. We've said this on many occasions, am I right? The competition, yeah? I'll wait till Joe's finished here.
Sorry, you've done that, yeah.
All right. So we've got the competition, the top 4 or 5 clubs, yeah? If you let Leeds go on a fair playing field, would they spend 4 or 5 million? I think yes. Would Warrington spend 4 or 5 million? Yes. Wigan, with the new investment, again, don't quote 4 or 5 billion, probably yes.
You're contradicting yourself.
Let me finish. No, you're going to let me finish. You can't put it there.
The money gets spent on the top players, like that's a big issue. But then when they don't spend the money on the...
To keep them in our comp.
You're contradicting yourself.
To keep them in our comp.
You're contradicting
Mick,
yourself.
would that be unfair on the people who can't spend more than 1.6? Should we let the top 5 who can prove it with financial turnover and corporate and everything?
Well, to be honest, based on the last 25 years when 4 clubs have only won the Super League,
yes,
and you've only got 8 clubs that have ever appeared in 8 different clubs that have only appeared in a Super League Grand Final, it's not going to make any difference because fundamentally, and this is where you've got to praise Wigan, Saints, Leeds, Bradford, when they were in the Super League, ultimately, fundamentally, Craig, they've had their house in order in terms of the junior development, the structure, the investment in the right places.
So could Leeds, Saints, Wigan, Warrington, let's just shoot, sorry if you're using them 4, there's all KR, there's Sally, everybody, there's all the Catalans, whatever. Why don't we let them 4 save if they could offer same as NRL for a young player, why can't we let them 4 save the game and keep that young talent in the game?
Because it's not only about money. No, let me speak. It's not only about money, it's about the Premier League as well. They are the top league. So players, whether they offer the same money or not, are still going to go to the NRL.
But ours will get stronger if we kept the top young talent. It'll get stronger and stronger.
But they won't keep the top young talent because
why?
Because the NRL. You don't listen to a word I say. It's going so annoying. The top NRL league is that big where it doesn't. Where even if the money's equal, they're all going to choose to go NRL now because
Joe, 10 years ago we were bigger than them.
10 years ago.
Yeah. So why not keep our talent and we'll get bigger than them again? Start building.
We can't keep the talent. It's too late to do that.
Right.
We need to think something else.
That's the answer. You all said it's too late. I disagree with you completely. You've got to start somewhere.
If
we can let 4 clubs, 5 clubs keep them players. So if I sit I know this more than most. I've got the young players who are going, right? I've had the young players who are going. I've had the top young. So if I sit the top young talent, these are your options. You've got NRL, and I'll tell you what, whether they say the development of the game and it's brilliant NRL, I'll tell you now, that's one, they do.
No, the sexiness of the league. The league is.
Let me finish. 2, the money. Don't kid yourself. Don't let anybody pillock anybody. The money's usually double and treble. So that's hey, I want this lovely thing. It's the NRL. It's great weather. It's great. This is great competition. Usually your opportunity is not as good in NRL, and usually the money is a deciding factor because it's 3 or 4 times more. If we could have 4 or 5 of our top clubs who said, "Why would you go there when I'll give you 120,000 to stay here?" Let's put your Will Price in, right? If Leeds came in and Wigan and said, "Look, why aren't you stopping this comp? We'll give you 120,000 on a 3-year deal. You'll play every week, opportunity." Do you think we could sell that better other than keep losing them?
100%.
Still think we'd struggle at this current state. I'd still think we'd generally struggle.
Right. That's it then. If that's the case, then it is game over.
You not embrace losing players and end up coming back, because like I said, a lot will flip-flop. The more that go, the more won't make it, the more will come back.
I just take the handcuffs off our top 5 owners.
Yeah, but then if you've got, like, say, Dom Young, who's gone over there and he is going to come back, rumour has it, is that not more exciting, the fact that Dom Young's gone to Australia, improved, coming back to Super League, Leeds, whoever, saying they're going to sign Dom Young, England,
Fantastic.
England star, he's going to come back. Is that not making it more sexy in the long run?
Yes.
At 17, you're going to the NRL, then coming back.
But
It's a great point,
But
Sam,
don't you think if they take the shackles off, going on from that, which links in, if they take the shackles off, I think we're just going to get better versions of the players we get from Australia already, which are English people coming back, the Harry Rushtons, possibly Dom Young in here.
But they only usually come back when they fail.
Slash decent at the moment. Apart from a couple of Australians, I don't want to dive too much, but we're getting NRLs, dropouts, NRLs, people who haven't made it or there's something going on in their lives and they're coming to England to get away from it all and give it another go. That's what we're getting. I think we just get a better version of that if our shackles are off because of how good their league is, of how they are that far ahead.
But you've said it mixed up on the thing here saying IMG are going to try and keep the talent, the homegrown talent, and that's what they're looking to do. I'm telling you now, the only way they can do that, I think, is to let the clubs, don't restrain the clubs on the same order as everybody else. Let the people do what, if you can get 5 owners, and the word is that the top 5 clubs now, apart from Leeds, have got massive investment. OKR have got 1 person on their board that's saying it could be worth 100 million. So they've got 2 other people who are as probably wealthy as Neil. Then you've got this guy on who's a massive investor. He's in there at OKR going this is I think we're there in 2 weeks, let's just say. He's sat there at the board there and they're saying, how do we make this club bigger? Where's the best young talents in the game? And they got earmarked 5 players who might be going to NRL, but at OKR said, well, this is what I've heard happened on one occasion. You can't go for that player. Why? Because we're above salary cap. So he said, what do you mean? So we can't go for that player. He went, no, because that'll put us above salary cap. So he's going to go NRL. I think that's what ING should question. There should be some. Can we even do a cap relief? If you keep a young player in, can we have a cap relief?
We do. There is a system where if you've played for England or if you're an England thing, that gets off the cap. So there is a system like that in place. Maybe that needs to be amended. Yeah. Is what you're saying is that it needs to not be for the England players that are already there, that for emerging England talent, they 100%. Get taken off the cap.
100%.
That's the way you've got to word it.
And there's nothing on the cap, so then this guy with 100 million in oil company can go in and say to the board, there you go. I'm going to give you 2 million. Which they would do. Do you know now, we can't take that 2 million off this new investor. Do you all know that? It can build a car park, it can build a train facility. It can't buy a player. So we can't buy a player ultimately, that means he goes to NRL. And I know Joy's point. Joy's point's a good thing. You might get a player and still say, I just want to change anyway. And by the way, Sam, your point does work, but it doesn't, because usually 90% of the time they come back when they've not done very well. Yeah. And it's not as exciting. To be honest with you, it's not as exciting to me. Dom Young's would be. Rest of them's not that exciting because you think, well, they haven't been that good.
Yeah, but what you're saying is the salary cap is going up there. So more are going to go. So the fact is,
let them go.
More aren't going to succeed.
And then that hand out when they come back.
So they'll come back, but it's not necessarily a massive failure, is it? More are going to come back. That's just
and like you said, Craig, many shows ago, maybe even 2 or 3 years ago, you said for the NRL club to take a Dom Young over there, a Will Price, it's a punt. because they can get them for so cheap, then develop their own, or get a young Australian. And that's a frustrating thing about it.
Agreed. So that's what I'm saying. I'd love to have again, for transparency, Mick, on the IMG, I'd love to have the debate where you'd said, would Michael Carter and Salford
I think surely just what you're saying then is just implementing an emerging England player exemption.
Yes.
If they played England nights under the age of 22, they get an exception on the cap.
Yes.
Surely that's just as simple.
And
that's just as simple as that, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
But then you would have, let's say, the 5 clubs who could do it against the 5 clubs or the 6 clubs who can't. Would Michael Carter, would Mark Grattan, would the other clubs say, no, we're not having an exempt on keeping young talent because they'll all head to the same places?
They'd be mad to say no.
Against keeping a player in our comp. Would you not rather him keep in the comp, or would the club say no?
Well, you know that. I don't know what the answer would be. You'd hope, but I've always been proven wrong. You'd hope that they'd say no, let them have the exemption. But I think history tells you they probably would vote in a more selfish.
Because Ian Blease at Salford went for the draft pick. He wanted 16-year-olds to be open to draft, and he thought that'd give his argument was that would give the Salfords a chance, who haven't developed their own players, to go and get the best young player at Saints and offer him 60 to 80,000 at 16 and say, come here for 4 years. That's what he openly said this at the meeting. Mike Rush, I think, said, are you kidding me? Mike Rush put his hand up and said, you want us to develop players for a good draft pick for you to have, but you haven't developed a player in 10 years.
Yeah,
I agree with Mike Rush on that. I agree with Mike Rush.
Yeah, but that's...
I agree with Mike Rush. I agree with Mike Rush.
You'd have to change the whole... If you do the draft picks, you have to change the whole system of the system. You can't ask a club to raise a player and then they get drafted. You'd have to create a youth development centre like they've just discussed.
Well, like
a Yorkshire,
regions.
a Cumbria.
Yeah.
You'd have to do that and then they all go into the draft.
London, yeah.
You wouldn't be able... Yeah, that's just ridiculous asking the club to do it. But if you created a whole new youth system, which I'm in favour of, whether it's the draft there needs to be a new system there. Like, you couldn't do it the current way and then have a draft. That doesn't work.
Because another thing for the young players to keep, what we probably don't understand is, if Salford tried to keep a young player like that, they could have a better chance than Saints for one reason. They could probably play one young player massive money. You get me? So they would go, what Ian said is, well, we could then go to Lewis Dodds at 16 and offer him a package for 4 years that blows his legs off. Whereas Saints, Leeds and the bigger clubs, Wigan,
they've got the wage structure.
You've got it, 10, 15, 20. Whereas another club would say, whoa, forget about that. Wait, you could say, we'll offer you 60 grand, 70 grand. I think I'll ask. We'll do a thing. Would a young player, if he got offered the right deal at 16 to 21, stay in this comp?
Yes.
But what's the right deal then? How do you argue? Because you'd have to be paid overs. In my opinion, you'd have to be paid a lot overs what the NRL can pay.
Yeah,
you'd have to beat the NRL offers, which isn't happening. Even if we do,
we've got the money to do it. That's
we don't. They
have.
They've not.
If they did the exec, they have.
I don't think they do.
100%.
They've got the money to match it. They can go toe for we. Can't beat their offers.
I think 100% financially, if the restraints was what we're saying is off the cap, and there was something that would like you're saying, emerging talent, and it's not goes on the cap, and it has to be private money from a club. I think they'd let the change and be off, and they'd go for it. And I think these 4 or 5 investors, these 4 or 5 investors would keep the best young talent in this game if they were allowed to take the chains off.
Because at what stage do we look at history and go, rugby league gives money to the 30-year-old player rather than the young player?
That's why it changed.
The 32-year-old, I don't think it would. I think that's ingrained in our game at the moment. That's going to take a couple of years to get out of it.
Well, I'll give you one. Are you ready? And this is quoting...
No, how do you answer what I'm saying?
I'm going to answer it. John Bateman come back from Canberra, okay?
Yeah.
Reputedly, it's John's business, not ours. We're a show. Let's say he got 200,000 plus. And he wanted to come on for his daughter, but he also wanted to come back to Wigan. He also got paid, it could be 250, okay? Piers Paul came from London and he'd been on 12 grand. Piers Paul would have been offered another deal for 3 years on 25, 30, 35. John's still on 250. Joe's saying they're a player at that age against a player at that age. All the emphasis in our competition is to keep John. not bothered as much as they should of keeping Kai Pierce-Paul. What should happen is they should say, John, you can go Australia anytime you want. You're on massive money. We've had the best out of you. We love what you've done for our club. Go and earn your money. What they should have done is opposite. They should have, instead of 250 there, they should maybe say to Pierce-Paul, we'll give you 60, 100, 150,000 or whatever, up to 100. He'd stay. Pierce-Paul, a year ago, being offered a 4-year deal, would have stayed at Wigan if it had gone to 150 grand.
But that's in the presumption that they will pay the youngsters. I don't think they'll pay the youngsters. It's ingrained in our sport that you've got to earn your stripes. It's the whole, they wouldn't pay.
They need to blow that all away.
Yes, but
if the right player
we can't. How do you blow it all? How do you change the mind?
Do you think Flanagan would have stayed in Bradford if he got offered Jack Walker money, Mick?
But how do you change that mind? That's amazing in theory, but you don't. They're not going to do that.
You can change it. People can change it.
But I'm not an owner of a club.
But you can have shows like this and say why.
I have challenged it. I've spoke to many as much as I can. I've challenged that. I was the number one on the show that said about the reserve six. I said about young players. I've supported the young players this season more than anyone combined.
Why you touching your shoulders when you're talking?
Because you've got me riled up.
I've had to lie when you're up.
You've got me riled up. You haven't. You've got me riled up. But what? You've riled me right up.
Right, we've been over 2 hours. We need to end the show. We'll save this one.
I'm getting into it. I'm good. That one best debate a lot. For next week's show, mate, let me finish on this and Joe and Mick. I'd like to ask 4 or 5 owners, if I could, that question is, why would we not keep the youngster? And secondly, why would there not be a cap relief on doing that? And would your investors be prepared to do that?
But I think there's only 2 owners in the sport. Obviously, I don't know them too well. In my opinion, they come on and prove me wrong. Obviously, I'm not saying I'm right here. But in my opinion, from what I've seen, there's only 2 owners that really put a lot of emphasis on youth and giving youth some money and chucking money at it. I think you probably chuck Warrington in there, even though they do go older, they also pay the youngsters quite good money. And I can't even... Which other club would you chuck in there that really good?
They've changed a bit.
Huddersfield. So you've got...
Leeds have changed a bit.
They've got a bit better.
Wigan have.
Yeah, but there's not many that would pay that much more because our sport and our coaches and our owners are ingrained to earn your stripes and get your money at 31, 32 years old. I don't think letting them off would change that massively. I think you'd have. I don't know how you'd go around changing that. I don't believe a cap exemption would, because they'd be like, oh, they don't deserve that money, as there's always.
That's where they've got to change, because it should be more exciting to keep a Morgan and Gannon in our comp than to keep a 28-year-old who goes to... Let the 28-year-old go with open hands. See you later. Go and earn some brass. It's your last big deal before you retire. We need to keep...
30,
Gannons need to stay. Gannons need to stay in our comp. And do you know when they go to England and Gannon sits next to Smithies, sits next to Dodds, and they sit in the talk? I want them to talk about how exciting that they've stayed here, and it's exciting that young players are staying. I don't want to say what they're doing at moments as they're going, what's it like at Parramatta? Oh my God, it's amazing, mate. That's the way we'll change it, Mick, is if the clubs are let loose. But Joe's put a point there. Sam, I'd like to put that on a thing. If the clubs were allowed to do it, to keep the young players cap-free, would they take it? That's the question we all need to know. If it's what Joe's saying, and we just would rather keep a 31-year-old and pay him 200 grand, the sport is backward, even more backward than we think.
But that's what we've done, though. Yeah. There's nothing stopping. There's what you're saying. You're incentivising them, I guess, to do that, which I get. By saying a cap exemption for young players, you're incentivising them to chuck money at them. But there has been currently nothing stopping any team letting John Bateman go, or letting a 31, 32-year-old go and giving all the money to 23. We're acting like, I think you're speaking like there's a rule in place for that not to happen. There's not a rule in that place. There's not a rule for that not to happen, and they still don't do it. They don't do it at all. So would that little rule change it completely? I don't think it would.
I'm going to give you one, Mick, before we finish. Would you rather have Jack Walker on 2 years on the money that he might be on, or keep Flanagan on a 4-year deal? I'll be honest, tell me the truth.
Keep George Flanagan on a 4-year deal. No disrespect to Jack Walker, but you don't understand that homegrown connection. That's unbreakable for mine. Having that homegrown connection, seeing homegrown players who've grown up on Homewood, West Bowling Estate, play for the club, that really does radiate. And, you know, you can sell season tickets, you can grow the club, you can generate so much feel-good factor on those types of stories. No disrespect to Jack Walker, big things are expected of Jack at Bradford in 2023. But if you're asking me to be honest, that is an honest answer.
Mike Rush said to me when they got Wellesby done and Dodsey, both on 3 or 4 years, he said, we've had to change what we've done. We've never done at this club. Paid youngsters the amount they've been paid. It had to change because we don't want to lose them players. I think Mike Rush did realise that.
So he's got it.
And he realised that he couldn't do a stacker system. Gary Etherington will be realising he
can't do the
same.
system. Yeah.
My thing is that let them loose. Change the psychology of what Joe's saying. Change it all, and let's do it.
I agree.
Push them.
I agree. It's been the full 80 minutes on Show Me the Money Rugby League TV. Don't forget, coming up later on this week and into next week and the weeks ahead, there's more Super League ins and outs. We will be doing a championship preview. That might also run for 2 hours. We don't know yet, but we're going to look at every championship club. And we're also going to do a League One preview show. So those will be 2 separate things. But yeah, as always is the case, thank you for watching us and spending some time with us. Once again, Happy New Year. All the best. And yeah, let's hope 2023 is a great year for the sport of rugby league.